Today is overcast. It's supposed to get really warm this afternoon, but I'm coming out during kind of the overcast time to show you how the garden's turning out. It's something that I've really been wanting, like as I've been thinking about getting back into YouTube, I've been wanting to show you guys some of the successes and fails and in-betweens of the garden. You know, I'm not very scientific compared to other people when it comes to gardening. I kind of just try a bunch of things and then I watch what happens, and sometimes my experiments fail, but I'm not paying close enough attention to know why. But it's all fun and it's all fascinating to me. And Ivy's off on the chase. So I kind of want to show you guys how things are looking right now. Right now, everything is kind of in the peak of growth. And because of that, you might have a hard time seeing the different plants. But a lot of these tall plants here are some of my berries. I've got aronia, jostaberry, gooseberry. And I've got the blackberry kind of growing in there, weeds around here. One of my big experiments has been kind of having that layered mulch breakdown. And you can kind of see here that I've got a patch in the center that doesn't have a lot of weeds, and that's kind of natural. You also see my poor little corn in there. I have two of these spots, and I've been calling them my no-till spots. And I've been trying the no-till method, and again, like I said before, it's not very scientific. It's been 4 years running now. So about 4 years ago, I put down a really thick layer of wood chips. And then I inoculated them with King Stropharia mushroom, known as like wine cap or garden giant. And as I went along, I would cover the whole thing in lawn clippings. So I'd have the layer of, you know, kind of mulch wood chips, then lawn clippings, and then the next year I'd add more wood chips. And it's getting along pretty well so far. It successfully got rid of a lot of the weeds compared to where you could see I didn't put the mulch layer, and you know, it retains a great deal of the moisture. I haven't really irrigated this much. I think one time this summer. Really good soil underneath the wood chips. At this point, I'm thinking I'm going to leave it. Maybe one more layer of like grass clippings, but taking out the blackberry weeds. But I really want to leave it and let it break down now. And part of the reason, the success has been kind of hit or miss in these areas, because there's so much energy going to breaking down the layers as I've laid them, that some of the plants don't do very well that I plant there. I've had a lot of success with some, and I've had no success with others. And in the little bit of digging around that I've done, there's been all sorts of different reasons. So I don't know which one it is, but I'm assuming that you know, breaking all of that down takes a lot of energy. A lot of that nutrition that would be going to the plants are kind of going to the organisms that are breaking down the wood chips and the grass clippings and stuff like that. But what I do know is it's improving every year. I want to show you my current, most recent no-till area where all of this is underway. Ivy is over here modeling it for you. You can see I'm in the process of laying out the lawn clippings over all of the wood chips. I have Some zucchini and some squash started over here. They are starting their rapid summer growth. So hopefully soon a lot of this will be covered in vines and help shade it, you know, continue to shade it. But if I peel back this grass clipping layer, I'm expecting to see that it's still quite damp. Yeah. This stuff is really, really wet. You know, not too soggy. Oh, and there's a mycelia layer. My camera will pick it up. You can see it's kind of clumped together, which the wood chips do when there's a lot of mycelia growing through them. And again, this is the King Stropharia over here. It helps break down all those wood chips, and it helps feed all those organisms. Oh, right over here. Here's a fruiting body from the King Stropharia. It's all covered in grass clippings, so I'm not going to eat it, but anyway, can kind of see it coming apart there. Oh, every time I pull out the camera, I do a terrible job of whatever I'm trying to do, even pulling out mushrooms, apparently. I would like to believe that the King Stropharia is also helping feed the plants. And I'm hoping that, you know, down the road, I'll have a good area that's kind of killed off the weed seed and has just a glut of nutrition for all of my plants. You know, the motivation that keeps me doing odd, strange things. And I don't know. I've enjoyed watching it happen. I'm hoping to clear a lot of this area that I'm walking through, which my camera's not picking it up very well, for future garden space. I would like to have more space for a bigger patch of corn, for example. I've even considered opening up space to plant some wheat and other grains. It'd be fun to do wheat and oats. I'm actually experimenting with a couple different varieties that might grow in this very damp climate. So I'm hoping that'll work. I'm over into my main garden area, and I'm going to pan across that really quick. So this is my fenced garden area, and this is all space that I've tilled. And it looks better than the other places that I've shown you for a couple reasons. The biggest of which is that the chickens were destroying everything that wasn't protected, so I put most of my effort into this space. That would allow me to keep it alive, you know, keep the chickens from digging it out. The other reason is I've been tending it more with water and other things as I've had time. You can see a lot of very normal things that you'd expect to see, like peas, Swiss chard. I've got broccoli, cauliflower. I've got some beets that are in various stages of happiness. Like on this end, the beets are very happy, and then towards the center, the row just disappears. That wasn't intentional. It's just the way that life worked. Panning slowly, hopefully I'm not making you all motion sick. This is all amaranth, and you can see the seed pods starting to grow. Hopefully they grow the size of my hand. Amaranth is an interesting plant to me. Growing up, it was a weed, you know, pigweed is often what it was called around my place. And I wish I'd known that it was an edible grain. And because of my history with it, I've been drawn to trying to grow it. And it's been growing fairly well here. This is the first year that I'm growing it. Okay, I guess I have to explain. Last year I grew one, and it grew to full maturity, and I saved the seed to plant this year. So this is the first year that I'm growing it to eat it. My first experiment was, can I grow viable seed? And I picked an easy weed, right, to grow viable seed from. And the answer was yes. I'm doing a pretty good job from the second year seed. And second question is, does it produce a lot of food? You know, in an environment where other grains have a little bit of trouble growing to maturity and not molding. So I'm going to test that out. And maybe I'll find out that I really don't like amaranth. You can kind of see how I approach gardening on my homestead here. Looking back past the amaranth, you can see that I've planted tons and tons of marigold. I have them growing along my amaranth, and I actually have them growing down the sides of my broccoli and cauliflower. And this is all based on will intercropping species like marigolds keep out some of the pests. And so far it's been pretty successful. And I don't know if it's because of the marigold or if it's because I've just done a fairly good job of keeping pests away. I don't spray or any of those types of things. And it's not because I'm necessarily against it. It might be more that I just don't have time to research what to do when and where. I've turned around here. You can kind of see how the weeds grow. I kind of let the grass grow until I have to remove it to plant things. And I just come and mow it down. I've got beans growing along the side here. These beans are kind of yellow still, and if I did a good soil test, I'd understand why. My garlic is a successful experiment too. This is all from stuff that I collected last year, and so this is second generation grown on my homestead here, and I'm excited about that. If they look happy and healthy when I dig them up, then it's a good sign that I might be able to have sustainable garlic production, and we eat the garlic. So the far end of the garden was the stuff that I started in the spring, and this side of the garden, minus the broccoli, is my working across in time and planting the things that'll come up later in the summer and even grow through the fall. And I'm currently planting stuff that should kind of extend into the winter a little while, if it all works. So that's why this side of the garden that I just am walking through looks like a bunch of grass and looks kind of bare. Hopefully that explains it all. I'm heading back over to where I started, but I'm going to go the other direction to show you some of my other things. So panning across here, we have all of these sticks standing out. This is my really cheap bean trellis. I live in a place where sticks are abundant everywhere, and you can see the beans climbing all the way up. I'll back out a little bit more so you can see, you know, they'll grow 6 to 8 feet. And, you know, as long as the wind doesn't blow way too hard, I've found that sticks like this do an incredible job. I do have an experiment going over here through all of my volunteer potatoes. I've got scorzonera. I always feel like I pronounce that wrong. So it's this here. And this is my first time ever experiencing this. Behind it I have burdock. I'm kind of feeling odd that I chose to plant burdock because it spreads so rapidly. But so far it isn't growing very well. Again, letting you into how my silly mind works. I'm really curious to see how it tastes, how I can use it, how it grows. But I also understand that it's one that can get away from me. So if it doesn't really go, it only took me a second to try it. It's not taking up a lot of space over here. And I'm not really out much for the experiment. I really want to show you my potatoes though. There isn't a very good way to show you how tall these are necessarily, but my potatoes have been very, 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 very successful this year. And they were actually successful last year, so I'm wondering if it's technique. But what I've done is I've mounded up the mounds like very tall during the spring and covered them in all of this straw. It's really just grass that I cut with my scythe and let dry out, and I've laid it in here as straw. And I've heard in the past, I've been hesitant to do it because it kind of invites mice and snakes. It gives them a good place to kind of crawl underneath and hide. But the thing is, I don't have a lot of water available. Our spring doesn't produce enough for us and the garden, especially during the dry summer months around here. And believe it or not, it does dry out. So far this year, for example, we are looking at somewhere around 20 days now without really much measurable rain. We've maybe had like, how much did we have? 5/100ths of an inch, I think. So not very much, right? And because of that, I've been looking at methods to keep all of that moisture that does come. And this has been my method, and it's actually done a really good job. I watered really good, or it rained really well. I think it rained really well. And then I covered it up with the mulch, and then I really haven't watered it since. I've tried a few different ways to show how tall this is, but it's about belly button height on me. And, you know, that's pretty tall for potatoes. And the tubers seem to grow pretty well. At least they did last year. So as of 2 years in a row, this experiment has kind of been a really good one, and I'm kind of excited. I don't feel like I have enough information to write a book and be like, hey everybody, this is how you're supposed to grow potatoes. Especially since I found out that in the Pacific Northwest, things grow very differently than they did in like Rupert, Idaho, where we were before. So I don't know if a book that I would write would help very many people anyway, unless they lived here in the Pacific Northwest as well. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the tour of my garden. I'm excited to be getting back in the saddle and making videos again. This is one of a few that I've kind of got in production in the back of my mind. Let me know if there's other things you want to see. I did catch the recommendation to do stuff with my scythe and with my tractor. I'll see what I can do about all of that. It's not out of the realm of possibility. I'm just thinking about it all. I really appreciate all of you, and I hope you're all having a great time. And thanks for watching.